KTN News. Get the whole story.
They are among the deadliest of creatures.
Wakati niliuma ikaanza kuacha, kutoka hapo basi nikaona kisungusungu ndio nikasilai.
Wreaking havoc and pain to the most vulnerable in Kenya.
All I want is for them to get her a prosthetic leg. That is all I want.
Yet the scientists are racing against time to save lives in a very costly affair.
Up to 1 billion Kenya shillings.
One anti-venom will cost about 4,000 Kenya shillings.
Can tradition step in where science has failed?
Hii si mawe, hii ni sumu ya nyoka hiyo.
I traverse Kenya's deadliest regions where serpents and humans clash for survival.
A snake, I believe. We really don't know what's happening, but let's just follow him, find out what's going on.
It's all about Kenya's unending quest to end the vice brought about by one of the world's most neglected tropical disease. Esther Kangali is about to arrive early to a special meeting of the area residents of Nguni village deep in the heart of Kitui County. The meeting is not compulsory, but the residents here need no motivation to attend this special sitting. It has taken Esther nearly an hour to get to her destination. Along the way, the biting sun has been unrelenting. But as soon as she arrives, those in attendance know the meeting is about to begin. Under the shade of the only tree within this small shopping center, the main agenda for today begins.
Kwanza ni kuwashukuru sana kwa kuja hii mkutano yetu. Kwa majina anaitwa Stanley.
Because of the high number of snakebite cases in this area,
pafada inapokuuma,
Stanley, who works for the Kenya Snakebite Research and Intervention Center, is here for a much-needed community sensitization exercise.
So leo nimekuja ili niwaelimishe aina nyoka zinazopatikana huku kwenyu.
Here, fathers, mothers, and even grandmothers pay keen attention to the snakebite emergency response actions needed to save life and limb.
Kama umeumwa mguu, kama uko shambani, kama uko nyumbani, tafuta leso ama shati ama kipande cha nguo, uchukue tu miti tuwili ufunge mguu.
And you don't need to tell them the importance of today's session. They know it. Just 1 year ago, one of them lost a limb due to a snake bite. Now, Esther, who survived the horrific ordeal, is among the biggest anti-snake bite campaigners in her community. When we visited her later at the homestead she now shares with her mother, she recalled the day her life changed forever.
I had gone to the farm. The snake was hiding underneath the gunny bag I was using to harvest green grams. When I picked up the bag, the snake bit me and I fell down.
Because she was all alone at the farm, it would take nearly 30 minutes before Esther's mother got word of her daughter's predicament.
When we got to her, we found blood dripping on her entire right leg. The big snake that had bitten her was still there.
At the time, they did not know, but Esther had been bitten by a puff adder, a snake in the family of the viper species, and one very common in Kitui County.
In Kamba here they call it the kimbuva. This is the snake that they are really scared of. Now we are trying to educate them more on why not to be afraid of these snakes and what to do and what not to do when they come across these snakes.
Part of the training involves mentoring community health volunteers like Peter Musioka. He's the only trained motorcycle ambulance operator in the entire area and was the man who took up the challenge to take Esther to hospital when she was bitten by a snake in December 2019.
Kuna simu mimi nimepeana huko katika community, namba yangu. Ninapikiwa kutoka sehemu zote za area zote za Nguni. Nikipikiwa hata kama ni usiku, naamuka na kicha pikipiki na kimbia kwenye mahali kuna huyo mtu mgonjwa. Nikipika na mchukua na mleta hospitali.
He quickly rushed Esther to the nearby Nguni Health Center, but the facility does not have anti-venom. So he had to carry her on his motorcycle ambulance a distance of 33 kilometers to the Mwingi District Hospital. Because of the tough terrain, it's a journey that lasted longer than it should have.
Kwa pikipiki, ukiwa umepepa, huwezi kimbia sana, unakimbia kiasi. Unaweza pepa saa moja. Ndio. Saa moja. Sababu ni pikipiki.
Many people end up being adversely affected by snake bites, often because health facilities are far away and ill-equipped to handle the tropical disease. A majority of snake bite cases in Kenya occur in rural areas where access to quality anti-venom remains hard.
Treating people with snake bites usually predominantly relies on the infusion of an antidote to the snake venom. Now, according to Doctors Without Borders, just 2% of snake bite victims in sub-Saharan Africa get access to quality antivenoms. This is usually necessitated by the fact that snake bite victims take a long time from the site where they've been bitten towards getting health facilities that can be able to treat their snake bites. In areas like Nguni, Kitui County, that distance is usually quite staggering.
It's the reason why Esther's life was spared, but not her limb. After 2 months in hospital, her leg had to be amputated.
I was fearful, but the doctors convinced me to agree.
I accepted it as the will of God.
The type of snake that bit Esther is among a group of species considered the deadliest in Kenya. Even though scientists say 80% of snakes are not venomous, they warn against coming across the following snakes in Kenya: the puff adder, the black mamba, the green mamba.
And it has a slender long head, which is coffin-like shaped, with a small round eye, and a smiling face, but deadly.
The Gabon viper, boomslang snake, the forest cobra, the mountain viper, rhinoceros viper, brown spitting cobra, the red spitting cobra, and the twig snake, which, by the way, has no antivenom to date.
Why is there no antivenom?
So that is why we are here. The guys who have been doing anti-venom haven't included this one. They fall into same categories like boomslang, yeah, the venom. But at the moment, we don't use boomslang anti-venom to treat this, yeah. So they are highly venomous, but they take time before they bite.
These are the type of snakes you do not want to come across. The deadliest among them is the black mamba, which accounts for the quickest death by a snake bite in the world. Its bite kills within 45 minutes, and that is if you're lucky. Often, its venom kills much faster. In Kenya, black mambas are widespread, but they are commonly found in Baringo County, where they have claimed the lives of countless residents. And so, we took a trip to arguably Kenya's deadliest county when it comes to snake inhabitants. The beauty of Kerio Valley is characterized by the lush green vegetation spread across acres of land. However, a closer look at the greenery reveals the danger that lurks below. Experts attribute the increased number of snakes in the area to global warming, which has enabled the reptiles to come out of their hiding in search of water.
The cobras during the hot season, this place is a hot place. So the cobras, the mambas, because of the nature of the place, it's a hot place, the hilly keeps them a place to camouflage, becomes home for them.
With nearly 100 snakebite cases in Marigat town just this year alone, the epicenter for this troubling tropical disease is where we find a man soldiering in a battle not many would be willing to forge. 73-year-old Walter Keegan has been a traditional snake handler in the area for decades. When we meet him, he tells us he had just caught a dangerous black mamba on his own just 3 days earlier. Every snake Mzee Keegan catches is like a trophy to him. As I'm about to sit down with the man feared and revered in equal measure by the residents here, he insists that the interview will only begin if his snake is near him. With the snake still trapped in his bag and clearly agitated, I reluctantly agree to this very uncomfortable situation.
Nilikuwa nashikanga nyoka kwa wiki pili 40. Nilianza kama hata sijaoa pipi mpaka sasa hivi watoto ndio wengi. Hakuna msitu.
But what's about to happen next is no laughing matter.
Okay.
Our interview is soon interrupted. This woman needs the help of Walter Keegan because she says she has spotted a snake inside her house.
Okay, so it appears Mzee Walter Keegan has just been called for a snake bite. A snake, I believe. We really don't know what's happening, but let's just follow him, find out what's going on. Let's just follow him.
Snake sightings in Kaptara village, Baringo County are very common. And Keegan, who began capturing snakes in 1968, is always on call to help capture the slithering serpents whenever the need arises. It's an earnest search for a wild animal that has caused pain and suffering to many here. The snake being sought after is a house snake like this one. They are scary but are not considered venomous. Keegan doesn't fear snakes, but that doesn't mean he's been immune to their vicious bite. He has been bitten once in the past, but has since been very cautious in handling the more deadly species.
Mimi napepa ile chuma nyeupe mfuko na hii kamba yangu napanga, alafu nakwenda kata miti nafungia hii basi, alafu mimi nateka na shingo. Baada ya kushika na ile nateka na shingo yake, au nikipata kama yanatulia pole pole tu, kwa sababu yeye si mchokozi. Mimi naweza kunyemelea pole pole mpaka niingiza kamba kwa shingo, kama inalala inatoa chini. Ndio mimi nikashika.
But the work done by traditional snake handlers like Keegan can only go so far. Many snakebite victims barely make it to the hospital before either dying or having their limbs amputated. The 73-year-old, however, believes that with better understanding about the wild animals, more lives can be saved.
Kenya hakuna mamba tatu. Huko Western Province hakuna Champions mamba. Hakuna hapa. Alafu hapa Kerio Valley au hii area yetu ya Rift Valley yote iko black mambas kwa wingi. Hii sehemu za Kerio yote mpaka mwisho black mambas kwa wingi. Alafu Coast Province tuko na green mambas. Huko the green mambas nyingi.
But studying serpents is one thing. Treating snake bites is another. When we come back, Kenya's expensive quest to treat the world's most neglected tropical disease.
One anti-venom will cost about 4,000 Kenya shillings.
And how the clash between science...
This can kill so many people. It can go even to about 10.
And tradition... could help in coming up with East Africa's first locally produced snake anti-venom. Mwaniki Mulatia and his wife show us what used to be the gravesite of their firstborn child.
Hapa ndiye alizikwa. Okay. Unaweza kumbuka hiyo siku?
The couple's son was a victim of a vicious venomous bite when he was just 3 years old. The snake bit the boy inside their house in Kitui and he soon passed away. That was more than 35 years ago. Yet Mzee Mwaniki's traumatic experience lives with him to this day.
Kuona nyoka ndio hatari. Ndio hatari sana. Kumeona sababu umekuwa vita kwangu.
It's for that reason that Mwaniki occasionally attends group sensitization exercises conducted by the Kenya Snakebite Research and Intervention Center. He keenly watches as trainer Stanley and nurse Cecilia demonstrate what to do when one is bitten by a snake.
Ndani ikuwe fupi. Sawa, kwa sababu gani? Ndio pia usiumize mgonjwa. Kishafunga mgonjwa wako hivyo, unafanya nini? Unaweza finya kucha yake ya mguu, uone kama nini? Kama damu inakuja. Ukishamfunga, utachukua mgonjwa wako, umuondoe kwa eneo la hatari.
Since the death of his son, the 70-year-old wants to learn all about snakes. His curiosity heightened by the fact that he too has at one time had a dreadful encounter with a red-spitting cobra, a snake all too common in the eastern parts of Kenya.
Ameweka mimi mate mengi sana. Wapo mecho hii yangu. Umeona hii mecho kweli umekuwa mzuri? Ni kabla ya namna hii.
But snake anti-venom researchers are hoping such interactions between humans and these deadly wild animals will not lead to any calamity. At Kenya's Snakebite Research Center in Nairobi, we meet up with a team that has been dedicating time and effort towards developing a locally obtained snake antivenom. Currently, Kenya imports all its snake antivenom from abroad, a factor that makes treatment of snake bites in the country quite an expensive affair.
In most hospitals, one antivenom will cost about 4,000 Kenya shillings, and sometimes we end up using up to 12 vials on one person.
Yet, a majority of cases in Kenya occur in rural areas where not only do snakes bite, so too does poverty. Esther, who lost her leg to a snake bite, now entirely depends on her mother for her daily upkeep.
Can the government please help me? My daughter was the sole breadwinner. Now she has been incapacitated. I don't know what to do.
It is such pleas that motivate the country's lead snakebite researcher, Dr. George Omondi, to want to develop a local snakebite antivenom. Esther's leg was amputated simply because the antivenom injected into her system Inosap, originally manufactured in Spain, did not react favorably to the tissue damage caused by the snake venom. But George, who has been researching on snakes in Kenya for close to a decade, believes Kenya's path to developing its own antivenom is necessary if more lives and limbs are to be saved.
Venom from the neurotoxic bites have components that vary from venom from the vipers. Yeah, so we constitute the venom, know which venom constituent it has. After that, we undertake what we call preclinical evaluation of these venoms.
The process George is talking about is a lengthy one, and it begins here at the country's largest snake research center, where we are introduced to a variety of snakes kept for research.
We are collecting these snakes from different geographical locations in Kenya. Like you can see, this red spitting cobra is from Kilifi, another one is from Baringo, another one comes from Amboseli or Kajiado. So we are trying to check venom variation in different areas here. It doesn't look the same according to scientists. So that is why we are collecting each snakes from different areas.
The idea is to come up with an antivenom that can treat venom generated by snakes here in Kenya. Most of the antivenom in use in Kenya has been developed from snakes in Asia. Because of varied environmental factors, often the antivenom used seldom treats the disease here.
A lot of the medics out there who use these antivenoms will tell you some of the times the snakebite victims don't really die out of the snake bite incident itself, but from adverse reactions that arise due to the administration of the antivenom. So this has made our health workers afraid to administer these antivenoms.
Some of these side effects of these antivenoms sometimes usually cause respiratory distress. Some patients have difficulties in breathing after these antivenoms are administered.
Okay.
The first step of developing an antivenom begins with venom extraction. Today, Geoffrey and his team are getting the deadly liquid from a spitting cobra.
This can kill so many people. It can go even to about 7 to 10 people, because once you're bitten, this venom acts so fast.
Because venom is a protein which degrades once it leaves the venom glands of a snake, the sample has to be stored in a refrigerator at -20 degrees Celsius. The sample is later freeze-dried into powder form to be stored for prolonged periods of time without losing its viability.
Most of the times we take the powder and you actually mix it with phosphate buffered saline. So you mix it depending with the study that you want to carry out. So you can mix it with phosphate buffer saline or with an adjuvant. So there's Fred adjuvant and incomplete Fred's adjuvant. So those ones are now injected into the cattle or the large mammals that want to be used for the study.
With the help of the Kenya Agricultural and Livestock Research Institute, the scientists keep 24 cattle used for testing the antivenom development.
For these particular animals, they have unique antibodies that we are trying to tap into that will enable the antivenoms we come up with work very effectively.
Small non-lethal doses of snake venom is injected on the animals with near similar antibody generation like humans. These are either baboons, camels, rabbits, horses, or cattle. These cattle, for instance, have been under observation for the last 18 months, and the antibodies they've developed will go a long way in getting Kenya a step closer to developing its own antivenom.
We do routine management in terms of animal health. Napenda kupapaswa sana. Anaogopa sana wageni.
The blood sample from the animals is then separated into two.
The bottom portion is the red blood cells. They are usually heavy. And because we are interested in the plasma, because it has the antibodies, and those are anticoagulant factors. They're usually found in plasma. And actually when the snake bites you, the venom acts on the plasma.
But this process is likely to take between 5 to 15 years. Had the research begun years ago, people like 54-year-old Nzomo Mutinda would be telling us a different story. To date, he still lives with the scars of a snake bite he suffered from while still a child. He was tending to his father's cattle when he sat on a rock where a snake had been hiding. The snake bit him before disappearing into a nearby bush.
Wakati wengine nakaa tu inaanza kutopoka kama wakati unaona yeye imetopoka hapo tena.
He doesn't remember how the snake looks like, but the sting on his right foot is unforgettable.
Nilikuwa naendelea masomo. Lakini nikasoma nikapika darasa la 7 tu. Nikashindwa. Hata wajua wakati mwingine nilikuwa nasoma na kwa shida. Nikisoma hivi, hiyo mkuu inaanza kutopoka vitonda na kashini.
Interestingly, Nzomo never went to a hospital. His wound was treated by a traditional healer. The healers were very common back in the day and were renowned for treating snake bites. But remnants of the old age tradition still exist to date. At Kapkiruok village in Kabarnet, Baringo County, we meet up with the most famous woman of this village. Esther Yegoi is a renowned traditional snakebite healer. But don't let her looks fool you. This woman knows her craft.
Nimetibu watu 718. 18. Nilijaza na ya juzi nilitibu 3. Takafikisha hiyo.
She has garnered a reputation for using a traditional black stone to treat snakebite victims who often troop to her modest house for help. The belief is that the stone helps suck out the venomous poison injected into the system by a snake.
Anatingiza kaza anavuta paka hapa anaanza kufura. Sasa unajua anafuta nini? Hiyo sumu ya nyoka. Anafanya hivi na hapa anaanza navura kufika hapa hivi. Angalau sasa hiyo ni nini anaanza mwenyewe kumuruka. Sasa wakati ya kuruka napindua. Hapa sasa ndio ataonesha madawa. Hapa ndio tutatoa naye. Tukimaliza nafinya hiyo sumu, finya hivi natoka. Alafu tunarudia tena tunaweka hivi.
But medics dispute this theory, insisting that the only way to survive a snake bite is if you get treated with an anti-venom.
It does not work. It works on the assumption that it absorbs the venom from the bite site. But then the venom is already in circulation. It's already been introduced into your bloodstream and it's circulating.
Most people, when they get bitten by a snake bite, usually go to a traditional healer first. Now, we looked at what these traditional healers are doing and realized that most often than not cause more damage to the victim than good. So we discovered that people don't really know what to do when matters around snake bites.
But Esther will hear none of that. She has lived off this trade for close to 30 years, and despite her advanced age and inability to walk, she is passing down the knowledge to her son.
Wakati hata hawezi mimi ndo nashughulika. Sometimes ananipea hata mtoto hii wiki mwisho 10 mimi ndio nilikuwa nashughulikia hiyo mtoto aliletwa hapa.
For their services, Esther and her son demand no payment, but the traditional healers may be stepping in where the government has failed. Snakebite victims in Kenya have been disenfranchised for years. In 2013, the Wildlife Conservation and Management Act was amended to increase compensation for snakebite victims. Families of those killed by a snakebite would receive 5 million shillings, up from just 200,000 shillings. Compensation for injuries caused by a snakebite shot up from 50,000 Kenya shillings to 2 million shillings thanks to a parliamentary committee review. But in 2018, snakebite compensation was suddenly scrapped by the government thanks to recommendations by the Task Force on Human Wildlife Compensation Schemes led by Tourism and Wildlife Chief Administrative Secretary Joseph Boynet. The task force claimed that snakebite compensation claims were on the rise thus bloating an already underfunded scheme. According to the Kenya Wildlife Service, 60% of 5 billion shillings set aside for wildlife attack compensation went into paying out snakebite claims. Now, snakes have permanently been removed from the list of wild animals to which compensation may be paid.
What informed the issue of that amendment 2018 is basically issue of the amounts involved. It was not becoming sustainable, and therefore it was seen it wise that it is excluded. And so it is not the ministry which is doing that. It went all the way. There was stakeholders engagement, it went to parliament, and that is how the amendment was passed.
But funding for snakebite research in Kenya has been a mirage. Dr. George Omondi and his team of scientists receive no funding from the government for their research. Instead, foreign donors have been filling that void.
We pay salaries. So the contribution of government in the first place is the fact that they are paying salaries for these researchers. And so when it comes to other materials, other equipment and etc., then occasionally we get support from the partners who are participating in this research.
So the research costs themselves could be up to 1 billion Kenya shillings, and we have up to another 1-2 billion Kenya shillings to put up a fully operational manufacturing facility for anti-venom and related products.
It's an expensive affair.
It's a very expensive affair, and we've had some manufacturers who have pulled out of the anti-venom market just because of the cost involved in the production. And we know that snakebite really affects the poorest of the poorest, I will say that. And so there's really no money in it unless now our government comes in to subsidize.
Despite the financial constraints, scientists remain hopeful that one day Kenya will be able to produce its own anti-venom. An anti-venom that will be more effective with less side effects and require less dosage to counter among the world's most neglected tropical diseases.
Kwanza sasa tukiona kwa hapa wewe unaruka hata mimi naye najitambaa najiwokoa. Kwani nitaongojee kwa maana mimi ni daktari? Hapana. Utaangalia kifo namna ya tu ngoja akukule. Uteresa kwanza kidogo kama kukufuata kwa bahati mbaya, hiyo ni bahati mbaya hiyo. Lakini usingoje na kumbe alikuwa maziko bado.
The snake that causes a lot of amputations is the pufferder and also the red spitting cobra, because these snakes will attack the tissue. They cause tissue damage.
All I want is for them to get her a prosthetic leg. That is all I want.
Timothy Otieno, KTN News, for the special report, Victims of Venom.